welcome back to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name is Nicole Reed, and today we are here for my booktube Stitch with me. So what is a booktube Stitch with me? That is where I talk about the books that I have read in the past week, if any at all, or sometimes we might just have a little bit of a chit chat about what's been going on. So today I am working on Long Dog Samplers Pandemic, everybody's favorite. I am using a variegated thread which goes from a red to a charcoal, and I'm on page 2 and I'm just working this little motif here. This is pretty much cut in half by the page break, so I'm just working in here. So last week we worked on this bit, and yeah. Alright, so that's very interesting because I'm just looking at this and there's little butterflies and little insects in there, but on my chart that's not actually there. Is that my... oh, okay, I can see there's little dots that show those things there, but maybe that's backstitch. Alright, well there you go. I didn't even realize there was backstitch in it. I'll have to look at the paper one to see it. So on the actual pattern keeper, it doesn't show the backstitch, but lucky I noticed that because I just thought they were dots. Anyway, we're working this here, so I don't have to worry about those, but I will have to go back and put them in because I've actually skipped them because I just thought they're random dots. They just go in here. So I'll have to get the paper one out and actually look at their actual file and the PDF and see what's on there. Alright, so as I said, we're working on Pandemic, and I'm just going to continue working that area. I've actually adjusted my frame a little bit, so I'm not hitting that the bar underneath. So I've actually moved it off to the side, so you can see here well, actually you probably can't, it's off camera. Yeah, I've got a bar just sitting there, and I've got this hanging over because it's quite a large frame. If you've been watching my Flosstube, you'll see how large this frame is. It's probably a little bit of overkill, but until I get to the edge of the page, I don't want to cut the fabric just in case I cut it wrong, because it is quite a big piece to be working on. Alright, I have my cuppa. I'm just going to do a little bit of a life update. I'm just looking for my thread, which I had here. There it is. It's just fallen out. Yeah, so basically a little bit of a life update. Not much has really been happening. I am in the throes of teaching my daughters one of my daughters to drive. So I haven't been getting a lot of stitching done over the weekend because I'm out and about with her, because she works 2 jobs and also goes to school full time, because she's saving for the deposit for her, her house. She's got a plan and she's sticking to it. So yeah, so basically I've been out on the weekend. So yesterday we were only supposed to be gone for half a day, but I ended up going down to Morayfield because she's also making her formal dress as well, and went down to Morayfield to Spotlight there because that's our closest Spotlight, either there or Toowoomba. And so we went down there and we got the fabric, and then we toddled off over to North Lakes because that's only like 15 minutes down the road. So we toddled off to North Lakes, and then we got there because she wanted to go to Dimmick's, and then we got there and we had lunch, and then we realised that she checked to see where Dimmick's was, and it turned out it was closed. So we jumped in the car and we raced off to another mall that we like to go to, which is Garden City at Upper Mount Cravat on Kessels Road. So she drove through the city and done some city driving, and she did really well. Like, she really did really well, considering that was the first time she'd ever gone out onto the Bruce Highway, and it was the first time she'd ever driven down sort of in city environments. So yeah, she actually did really, really well. I was very proud of her, and she was very proud of herself. And then we finished off the day by driving out from Upper Mount Gravatt. It's really easy to drive out to, is it Red Bank? It's easy to drive, yeah, to Red Bank, and then out to up to Ipswich and Toowoomba. So we did a massive circle. Took us 4 hours to get home because we took a little bit of a side side step, and we had to go and find a 7-Eleven for her so she could get a slushie. So she got to do some more city driving, which was good, around Mount Cravat and all the rest of it. That took us an extra half an hour, but she's clicking up her hours. We done 90 minutes of night driving by the time we finished shopping and all the rest of it at Garden City. We did 90 minutes of night driving, which I don't like doing night driving myself, but you know, it is what it is. Brennan's been taking her out during the week when we pick her up from work. She finishes work either at 5:30 or 7:30 between her two jobs, and so there's been a little bit of a chance to do some night driving. So Brennan's been picking her up, and also when we've got to pick up Nerily, she goes with him and does that because she finishes late as well. So yeah, so basically she's been getting, you know, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and then basically what he does, we went down, she drove the car home the first couple of times to get used to the different way of driving at night, and then yeah, then basically she has gone a little bit further afield. So every time we pick her up, he goes a little bit further. So we pick her up at 7 o'clock or 7:30. Then we'll drive, you know, to the next town or whatever, or up around Kingaroy for half an hour, and because they've got to have 10 hours of night driving. And me and Brandon are very much homebodies and don't go anywhere, so it makes it really hard to get the night driving in. But as I said, we got an hour and a half in yesterday, and I think she's up to about 3 hours with the last week and a bit of doing, you know, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, you know, half an hour here, half an hour there, that. So she's getting her hours up anyway, and I think she's just hit the 45-hour mark. Now, she has actually had her learner's permit since she was 16. It was one of the first things she got, but Savannah is not a person that you can pressure into driving. She will, like, into doing something. She will dig her heels in, and she will not do it just to spite you. She's always been that way, and Daddy's very late to the lesson on that one, and so he put added pressure on her to get in the car to start driving because he was excited, and I ended up having to pull him aside and go, you know, Savannah's not the one that you get excited with about stuff, because she'll come to it on her own. So anyway, I told her that I told Brendan to back off and to leave her alone and all the rest of it, and it only took 2 weeks after me telling her that, and then she was ready to start driving. So we basically now, what we do is we just get chauffeured around. She drives everywhere. If she's home, she drives the car. So I've parked my car up. I mean, it's still registered and whatnot, but I've parked my car up the driveway, and so the only car we use right now is her car. She got a little a car come into the car yard, and the owner didn't want it into our workshop yard, and the owner didn't want to spend the money on it. And it's a little Holden Cruise, and they were just over it. They wanted to get a new car, so we bought it off them, and we bought it with the intention for the girls to learn in it, because my car's a little bit sporty and all the rest of it, and this one's, you know, in comparison, mine has ponies under the bonnet. The Holden Cruise has donkeys under the bonnet in comparison. So my car's quite a sporty car. Brendan's car is a V8, so that's out of the question for the girls. I don't want them learning in a V8. And it's an automatic. I would have preferred them to learn in a manual, but it's, yeah, anyway. She's going to need a car at the end of the year when she goes off to uni and stuff like that. So we made a deal with her that, you know, we would purchase it, but she had to pay for any repairs, and she also, I mean, and obviously, you know, her dad's a mechanic and all the rest of it, and it's roadworthy. She had to pay for that, and she had to pay for the rego. So that was the deal, and she was happy with that. And we've had it detailed and polished and went over the car and all the rest of it. So now she's got a nice little reliable car that didn't cost her too much to get. She's not a girl that goes for brand new stuff anyway. She didn't need to have a brand new car. And yeah, but she enjoys driving it. She has driven my car once because we had an issue with the immobilizer. The key was broken in it as well, and so yeah, so basically we had to get that fixed just recently. But yeah, so now the car's going really well, and she drove that and she's wrapped with it. And I said to her, you've got to hurry up and get your 100 hours up. I'm pretty much riding the weekends of this year off, because no sooner will she get her license, and then Nerily will be 16, and Nerily already knows how to drive because she's done a lot of driving in paddocks and stuff like that, not out on the road. So yeah, so basically, yeah, I'm going to spend the foreseeable future in my children's company every weekend, driving around places. The good thing is that during the week they can get a lot of time up by driving around our area, and then on weekends we can cruise out to like Toowoomba, which is 2.5 hours, so they get 5 hours in a weekend just for one drive. And I think it's a little bit under 2.5. I think maybe about 2 hours and 10 minutes. So either way, they get 4 to 5 hours on a trip down to Brisbane or down over to Toowoomba. So, or we've gone to Hervey Bay as well. Like, we've gone to a Spotlight when Savannah's needed to get stuff. We've gone over to Hervey Bay and done a bit of shopping over there. And yeah, so that's what my weekends have been entailing. So we drove around for about 2 hours on Saturday, just around, dropped Nerily off at work, and then we had to go and do some stuff at the supermarket, and then by the time we finished in there, it was only an hour and a half till we had to go and pick up Nerily. So we drove around for an hour and a half and then went and picked her up and then come home. So we sort of map it out around their work and stuff like that. So, but she's getting better. She's becoming more confident. She done really well last night with the night driving. She's not as freaked out about big trucks and stuff anymore, and I'm pretty sure she's up about 45 hours of driving time, so, which is good. All the hours in the afternoons are adding up, so, and all the, you know, half an hour here and half an hour there. And just I think just getting her in the car constantly to go different places and all the rest of it, just, you know, for the mundane stuff that we do on the day-to-day grind, is really helping as well. So yeah. So I'm looking forward to her getting her P's, and then yeah, basically from that she'll no sooner get her P's, and then I'll be in the car again with Nerily. And so I figured, I was saying to Savannah yesterday on our drive home, I should just ride this year off and not plan anything for weekends until you guys get your license, and then I can get back to doing the stuff that I like doing on weekends, which is, you know, mucking around with my craft stuff and all the rest of it. Alright, I've gone a little bit over into page 3 now, so I'm just going to finish this thread up and finish this cross, and then I'll rethread my needle and whatnot. So yeah, we had a good time. We had a really nice lunch, which was great. Got some books as well. We went to, I've made a bit of a mess of this thread. Let me just sort this out. We went to, as I said, we went over to Garden City, and we ended up going to, is it QBD, is it? Or QDB, or whatever it is? The book place, anyway. And we went to where it normally was, like where we came in, it was in, as we walked in the door, and then we went down to a shop that used to be where a new place, Yeah, so when we walked in, it was upstairs where it used to be downstairs. So it actually moved from its original position downstairs to upstairs. So it was in a new place. We're like, oh yeah, cool, we'll come there afterwards. So we went down to this little shop that Savannah likes to go to where she gets all her Japanese lollies from. She used to get Tokyo, oh, what was it called? Tokyo something anyway, and it used to come with like snacks and stuff. Tokyo snacks maybe it was called. It used to come with snacks and stuff that are essentially only available in Japan. And so basically we go there, every time we go there we get our bubble tea and all that sort of stuff, and they have really good sushi there that's nice and cheap. They have really, like, they've got a really good food section there. And so we went downstairs, we went to the shop that she likes to go to, and we got a few things. But when we got to the shop, there was a book etc. next door to it, and that is scattered around Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and all the books in there are $7. So I'll insert a picture of what I got just here. So I got a Sashiko one. So it's all about Sashiko, and it was $7. It's the Ultimate Sashiko source book, as you can see there from the picture. And basically it's got the history of it, and it's got some projects in it and all that sort of stuff as well. And so I grabbed that. That was $7. And the other one that I got, which I was super excited about, Savannah actually found it, is this one here, which you can see the picture on the screen right now, is Emma Kongdon's, she's got a very unfortunate name. You could definitely do slip of a tongue there. Cross Stitch for the Soul, 20 designs, and I've been eyeing that off for so long, so I finally have it, and I got it for $7. Now, and the other one that I got was as you can see here, is Magic Lessons. So that is the first book. If you read them in chronological order, Practical Magic is actually the first one. So you all know the Practical Magic movie from the 90s with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman in it. Okay, so that is, that come out in the 90s or early 2000, I don't know. Anyway, whenever it came out, that book is from back in that era, and it's written by Alice Hoffman. And so, when you look her books up, Magic Lessons is 0.5, and then I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head. Then there's a 0.2, then it's Practical Magic, and then it's Magic Rules, I think it is called, which is the second one to Practical Magic. So anyway, I found this one that you can see on the screen right now at this book, etc. Now, there wasn't a lot of books in this one, so I dare say it's only a relatively new one. It had a couple of classics in it. It's had some kids books and all that sort of stuff in it. And as I said, they're all $7. So I saved myself an absolute fortune on that, which meant that I was able to get the second book in the Wheel of Time saga by Robert Jordan. So yeah, so you can see there, that's what that looks like. So at the moment, I haven't started reading the Wheel of Time yet. I now have book 1 and 2, and every time I go to a bookshop, I'm just buying the book in sequence. So yeah, and when I was at the bookstore yesterday, they had up to book 15, 14, 15, something like that. So yeah, so basically I will just collect them as I go. When I'm going to start reading them, I don't know. They are quite epic books. They are well over 800 pages. Some of them are, yeah, they're quite chunky books. So they are the books that I got yesterday. So they have been added to the pile of to be reads. I do actually have the first Wheel of Time on audio. I think it was free ages and ages ago, or maybe Brendan purchased it on my account, but it was definitely sitting on my account, so I'm like, sweet. But I want to read the books anyway, physically. And sometimes, you know, as I said, like I always do, I read and craft. So some of those epic ones, you know, they take a long time to read. physically, so I can mix it up between the two. I can finish the day off with the reading of it and all the rest of it, but I don't have book 2 or anything like that, so I've got them in the physical, so I'll just read them. But they may not even get read this year, even though there has been a TV series that has started. I think it's on Netflix or Prime or something, and it's Amazon Prime. Even though that is there and I could very well easily watch it, I don't really want to. I want to read the books. Like there's even the Virgin River ones, and there's the Sweet Magnolia but I found those books. The Sweet Magnolia books are by Cheryl Woods, Cheryl with an S. I've keyed them up through Scribe. I found a few of them on audio through Scribe, but they're books that I'm not going to buy physically. I'll just listen to them on audio because they're quite snack size books compared to some of the books that I've got on my TBR this year. So so basically I don't like the Sweet Magnolia series that's on Netflix at the moment. That's the Cheryl Woods books, and there's quite a number of books. It's almost like the Virgin River. There's quite a number of books in that series, so I don't want to really even though I started watching Sweet Magnolias, I've watched the first season, and I have actually watched a couple. I think I'm 3 or 4 into the second season. I've decided that I'm just going to back off from watching it because I find that the books are just so much better, like with anything, I guess. So basically that's where I'm at the moment with that. And so I've got them keyed up, and I'm still reading the Jessie Hunt ones, although I haven't read one this week. And what else have I been doing besides adding to my bookshelf? There's been a couple of really good through BookBub, the email that I get. There's been a few really good just snack size like books, and for me snack size books like 400 pages, but so anywhere from 200 to 400. And so there's been a few of those that have popped up recently through that I've got through Kindle, because most of those are through Kindle, and it's the email that I signed up for is called BookBub, B-U-B, and that gets sent to me every single day. So be aware that you will get an email every single day, and you may not want to buy a book every single day, but not, like there are lots of books on there, but then you can be a little bit discerning with your picks and stuff like that. They give you all the specials, and like sometimes I pick up a book for $4 with an audio. So yeah, I really enjoy getting that. And then other times I might not buy anything from that email for weeks and weeks and weeks. And sometimes, like, I'll get the Kindle one, the email that they send out, because I've got Kindle Unlimited as well. They'll send out that Kindle one, and I've already got the book, and I got it cheaper than what it was on the Kindle one through that BookBub. So yeah, it's a really good email. I really enjoy getting it. It also gives me a option to be able to see the different genres and stuff like that, because it doesn't just send me romance. It doesn't just send me true crime. It sends me a whole myriad of books, and there's usually from 6 to 10 books on that BookBub. And some of them I've found some good true crime books on there that I've yet to read that sound really interesting, because you just click on it, it takes you to the blurb in Kindle, and you can read up on it and all the rest of it. It will also tell you when you go to the Kindle, when you click on it and go and read about it on Kindle, it'll also tell you if it's got audio with it as well. So if you're someone that likes listening to audiobooks and you've got Audible, and you don't like the fact that you've got to buy your books for $14.95, that's a really good option, because they have books on special for Kindle. As I said, I've got some of them for as low as 99 cents, and then only $3.45 for the audio to go with it. And so and I've heard of some people that do that, and then they read along with the audio as well, and I've done that myself as well when I've been a little bit tired and I haven't been focused, and I've wanted to get a book read or something like that and it's on Kindle, I'll read along with it. And it does give you a, like, especially I find that a lot with like true crime and also like self-help books, because most of my self-help books I just get through Kindle, and if it's got the audio with it for $3, it's usually $3.49, I'll grab it, because as I said, sometimes I'm in the car for long hours, I can listen to it in that, especially like self-help ones, or you know, I can read along with it, especially if it's got a lot of like technical jargon in it as well. It gives me the pronunciation of words and stuff like that. And then I was listening to, who was it? I can't remember. It was some random booktuber or just someone that was talking about books in general. I don't even think they were a booktuber. Maybe it was productivity or something along those lines. That when they read, they get the audio, because especially if it's a new fantasy novel that they're reading, they will they like to get the audio with it, because it pronounces the words properly, and like pronounces the, you know, because let's face it, in fantasy stuff there's a lot of made up words and stuff like that, so getting the correct pronunciation of names and cities and planets and all that sort of stuff, it makes it a lot easier. So that I've, you know, as I said, I've heard of a lot of people doing that before, and myself, I've done it, not very often, a couple of times, but mostly with self-help, and I've done it with one true crime. And I can't even remember what book it was. It was ages ago. It was just as I was getting into audiobooks. So that makes it a lot easier to understand what they're talking about and all the rest of it, especially with the pronunciation of words. And, you know, let's face it, if you've been around here for a while, you know that my pronunciation, it's not good. It's not good at all. I second guess myself. A lot of the time I'm right, but then I second guess myself. So that doesn't help at all. All right, so what books did I read this week? I did read a number of books. I read Red Queen. That was a bingo challenge. I did read that. That was a follow on from The White Queen, which I read, and so the same characters were in it, and so this time it was actually focusing on her daughter. If you remember I can't remember. It was a while. It's been a while since I've read a lot of books since I read The White Queen, so it's got a little bit blurry. I actually didn't really like this book at all. I don't actually recommend it. Actually, I'll rephrase that. I read it, I got it on physical, but I ended up having it, I found it on Scribe, and I listened to it on Scribe, and basically it was okay, but it just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, to be honest, I really don't know how to describe it. It's by Philippa Gregory, and it was a great book. Like, it was great in the premise of the book that they set up in the first one. And the second one, as I said, is Red Queen. And it starts off with her, it's got a little bit of magic in it. Not a great deal. Just her casting a spell to win the heart of the new king and all the rest of it. Which, you know, I think I was talking to Savannah. I said, you know, if any of these books are to go by, if people are basing this off actual history, I don't know a lot of history. I don't know about all the wars that was fought after. It's not my bag. I don't research it and all the rest of it. So this is set back when there were all the wars going on and fighting over, you know, everywhere basically in the UK. And it's just about her being the queen, and, you know, basically just the whole premise of the book was her fighting to survive, to stay in the, you know, in the monarchy basically. And so, like, I'm being a little bit vague. One, I don't have my notes in front of me at the moment. I've left the book in the car and the car has left. And so basically, it was just, I found it just going on and on and on about her trying to maintain her position on the throne and all the rest of it. Now, the king is the king that won in the last one. So he has dethroned Henry. Henry's in the tower. I think it's Henry. Yeah, Henry's in the tower. You know, she has 2 sons to a previous husband. He was killed in the last book, and it ended with her riding back with this now king. They say that the king is a bastard child, that he's not the true king and all this sort of stuff. One of the other people have fled, and so George, his other brother, has fled, and so it's brother against brother trying to tussle each other off the throne, but he's never lost a war and stuff like that. So it was quite, and that's all it was. He'd go off to war, she'd pine for him, then they had children, then she finally had an heir, and there was a lot of magic and all the rest of it. And every now and again through the book, there would be a little bit of a quote from Miracina. She was a woman, essentially a mermaid, that she lived in the water. She was found one day, she fell in love, and all the rest of it. And it goes on about how the portrayal of men not, living up to their end of the bargain and all this sort of stuff. And, they use magic and they've got to be very careful. And yeah, so there's a slight hint of witchcraft in it, but not a lot. I didn't find it to be a very exciting book. I did read it to the end because, sometimes you can start... I've lost my needle. Sometimes you can start reading a book and you think, it's not really my thing, and all the rest of it. But there's still another 2 books in this series, and I have both of them here. And they are on my bookshelf, and I do want to finish them because they've been on my bookshelf for a while. So I am going to persevere with it. I've given this a 2-star rating because it just didn't pack a punch. The first book packed a punch. Like it sucked me in to read the next one. And this one, it ended well enough for me to want to pick up the next one. I think there's actually 5, and I've got 4 of the 5 of this series, and it's the Cousins War series, I think they call it. But yeah, anyway, if you look it up on Goodreads, you'll find it there, and you can find all of them. And as I said, I've got 4 of the 5. I will definitely be not buying the 5th book, even though I've got 4 of them already on my bookshelf. I will just get it on Kindle and listen to it on audio. So that's sort of where I'm at with that. And I only gave it 2 stars. Not a great book. I don't even have the book in front of me to tell you how many pages it is. I think it's about 400 and something pages. Not a very big book as such, but yeah, I just found it, they were in exile, they were this, they were that, and and then he realized that he wasn't as invincible as he once thought, and so then there was self-doubt that come in, and excuse me, and all of that. So didn't really do it for me. So I polished that off and put it aside, and as I said, I gave it a 2-star rating. I think when I done it, I might have accidentally clicked 3. That I don't know if I've corrected that. I usually correct it at the time of on Goodreads. So yeah, I read that, and then the next book that I read, which has this is a Magical Stitches prompt to read a book that has been on your bookshelf for some time. So really, Red Queen could have covered that one as well. But because I don't want to double dip my books, I actually want to read the 4 books that are set down for Magical Stitches and the books for Bingo. So I started what book did I pull off of that? Oh, that was All Souls. So the All Souls series by Deborah Harkis, which is the Discovery of Witches, for those that don't know that as All Souls. So I read Discovery of Witches and Shadow Night, is it called, the second one? I don't have my notes in front of me. So I read that. I listened to that on audio. I do have the physical book, but Brendan actually purchased it as an audio ages ago when I said I was reading the first book. I read the first book as a physical book, and then the second book as an audio because he purchased them. And yeah, so I got into that. I was super excited. I gave that 4 stars, and it has it's going to make it into my big books list anyway, because I think it's got 800 pages in it, 600, 700 pages. I don't know. Anyway, hang on a sec. I'll just go grab it. Okay, so I'm back. I've got it. So the Book of Life is this one here. Okay, it's by Deborah Harkness. All right, now Deborah Harkness has a background in history and all the rest of it. So she does a little bit of, delving back and forth into history and stuff like that. And she has little quotes through it and all the rest of it. All right, so this one here is the 3rd book in the trilogy of All Souls. Okay, and it's a discovery of witches is where it all started. And basically it was fabulous. I sort of didn't really gel with the second book, and I thought, and that's why I was put off by reading the 3rd book. And it has been on I got the 3 books, I think it was at the beginning of last year or at the end of 2020 I got them. So basically, yeah, and they've been sitting on my shelf for a while. So the prompt was that I had to read a book that had been essentially collecting dust on my bookshelf, and it fit the bill because it had been sitting there for quite some time. But I'm super excited that I have read it. I was so happy that I actually couldn't stop listening to it. Like, even though I've got the book here, as I said, I did listen to it on audio, and I did a little bit of reading as well at night. I couldn't put it down. I actually couldn't put it down. I haven't read too many books this week because I've got a lot of books on the go. And obviously they'll start to finish up for next week and whatnot. But yeah, this was great. Like, they have just... So in book 2, they were just coming back to... So in book 1... they met each other. Matthew and Diana met each other. They fell in love with one another and all the rest of it. And I think book 1 ended with them going back in time because she is a time walker. And she discovers, in book 2, she discovers who she actually really is and all the rest of it. She turns out to be a weaver and all the rest of it. And where we left off in book 2, if memory serves me correctly, I think they were just coming back. Or they left to come back. Normally what I do is read the last chapter again before I go on if there's been a big break, and I didn't do that. So normally I do that if I've had a big break in a series. I'll read the last chapter of the previous book just to catch up to where I am, because, I mean, let's face it, most duologies and trilogies, and even books that have numerous editions in the series, they pretty much follow on from one another. And so, yeah, so basically this book started out, they've come back, and they're back. She is pregnant. And basically, yeah, it just follows on from that. There's some things that happen. Now, I don't want to give too much away because I know there are a couple of people who are in the midst of reading this series or are about to embark on this series with different things that they're doing in their thing, like other people that watch me and I watch them, that are doing booktubes and stuff like that. And so so Amanda from Reading and Writing, she said that she hadn't heard of that. I was over on her channel and said, yeah, I'm reading this, the Book of Life in the Discovery of Witches series and all the rest of it, and she's actually going to be reading it later on with a reading group. It's set down in one of the things that she does. So yeah, so basically I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but it's pretty hard to talk about a 3rd book without giving some things away. So anyway, she is pregnant, she's come back, and they're still in the search for the Book of Life, and they're getting closer. But there is also a situation with and now we know about the blood rage that Matthew has, and it's in his line and all the rest of it. So they're trying to, because there's been some murders and stuff like that, and they're trying to figure out who is doing it. They think that they've worked it out, and then they have worked it out, and so now they're on the mission to basically resolve that situation, as well as find the Book of Life. And yeah, so it's all happening in this book. It was actually really good. I couldn't put it down. I think it's actually going to be I'm torn what's going to be my favorite read this month, like, because this book was really good. Like, I'm spewing, like absolutely spewing that I waited so long to read it. Like, she really brought it all together. She has brought out another book, I believe it's called something of time, and it actually delves a little bit deeper into the Marcus and Matthew relationship. And all the rest of it from what I've read. So I don't think I'm going to read that, because I mean, really, we already know their background. I don't think we need to really dive into it anymore. I think I'm done with the Matthew and all the rest of it. I'm happy where this book has ended. I love how it ended as well. Like, it was just so, I think it's even going to make my quote, yeah, I think it's actually going to be my favorite quote, and it's not going to be easy to. It's not going to be easy to talk about that without giving it away. But I mean, even if I told you what it was, it wouldn't give away the whole book. Anyway, there are different things in here as well, like between some of the chapters or the parts. I guess they're broken up. She has some things that are taken from books about the star signs and stuff like that, and yeah, just it's very much intriguing. Like the first one that I'm like, that is like so my daughter, she's a Leo, and it was like, oh my god, that pretty much describes her. So some of these things I'm actually going to write down and put into my reading journal and stuff like that. Thoroughly loved it. Thoroughly loved how she brought it all together, and how at one stage I was thinking, where is this going to go? I was so amazed at something that happened in the first book that was quite interesting about the Book of Life, and that she really tied that up in the third book. It was great how she did it. I really, really enjoyed it. While some people probably won't agree with me, I thought that this was an amazing book, like a trilogy. As I said, I have watched the show, like since reading the first two. I have watched the first season of Discovery of Witches, and to be quite honest, I don't think I'm going to watch it, because I don't think it's going to do anything for me after reading these books. I'm quite happy not to watch the series. I'm sure that the creators of the series wouldn't want to hear that, but anyway, I'm happy not to even go back to finish watching that series. I think I'm done with it now, and after reading the books, I don't think that it could ever do anything for me. If you are someone that likes a bit of magic and a little bit of, romance tied in, because this actually fits with my February criteria of romance. So all the books that I'm reading are romance based, and all the rest of it, February being the month of love and all the rest of it. So basically it tied in with it very much so. And I think there's only going to be one or two books that won't tie in with it, because they'll be for bingo prompts. But I might be able to tie it in. Who knows? I might have to check, because I've already picked out the books for the prompts for the bingo. So yeah, but this, as I said, this one is actually for the School of Magical Stitches, and I think the other one that I've got to read for that is the Book of Longings by Sue Kidd, I think it is. And there's one other one that I'm just trying to think what that is, and I cannot. Oh, Fingersmith was another one. Is another one that I'm going to be reading for School of Magic Stitches. I don't think I'm actually going to get those two books finished by the end of February. So they are definitely going to bleed over into March. I am reading, at the moment, I'm reading The Ninth Child for a Bingo one, because I had to pick a book for its cover, and I started reading that on Saturday night. So I'm still reading that. I'm about, I think about 100 pages in. I haven't got too far in, but I've got to the end of the week to read that. So I don't know whether I will be doing a Stitch with me next week, because I am away at retreat. But anyway, back to this book. If you haven't read Discovery of Witches, may I suggest you do, and stick with it. Book 2 sort of lost me a little bit. As I said, I'm trying to thread my needle here. As I said, book 2 sort of lost me a little bit. it was good. It was a good book. Don't get me wrong. It was a good book, and I did enjoy it. But I think I just, because I struggle with the romance side of it, I guess. It's, yeah. But there was enough intrigue in the second one to keep me going till I got to the end. And I just didn't, I think I might have just been a little bit burnt out by the series, and that's why I just put it down and all the rest of it. I was definitely always going to finish it. It was not a do not finish. It took me a little while to get back to it and all the rest of it. But this book was really, it was great. Like, they all come together, and it was exploring the fact that they had been so segregated for so long. And just so you know, the premise of the book when it started was what Matthew was doing. He's at Oxford University, and that's where he meets Diana back in the first book. And so he is actually doing he's trying to work out with his team why their powers are diminishing. Why can't the vampires reproduce any sire children, so to speak? And he has an underlying condition which you don't really know about. I think that sort of starts rearing its head in the second book, because when you read 3 books, they all start to blend in, so you don't get, sometimes you lose the timeline, and especially when there's been a big gap and stuff like that. But yeah, and so he's trying to work out all that. Deborah, the author, just brought it all home and tied it all together in a nice little bow, but it wasn't ridiculous. You know how sometimes you read a book and the nice little bow that they use to tie up all the, especially in series and all the rest of it, can just go, you go, really? Like, this book I thought was well done in the actual fact that it all just tied together really nicely, and she gave a really good explanation of why, and why they could conceive and naturally conceive and all the rest of it, and what it takes to be to do that. And she just, I found it thoroughly interesting. Now, in saying that, I do like science, so and so do my girls and stuff like that. We are very much we do really like science stuff. So for me, that intrigued me, that I had, some understanding of that sort of stuff. I think Savannah will really enjoy this book too, because of the science behind it. Like, they talk about the science and stuff like that, and there's magic in it. It just had all my things. It had all my things in it. So if you haven't read it, may I suggest, go grab it on Kindle, go grab it on the audio. It's they're 3 hefty books, but I think you will really enjoy reading it. As I said, it's got a little bit of science, got a little bit of magic, it's got creatures in it, there's no werewolves. And Matthew gets quite upset when you mention werewolves. I will say that I had a bit of a giggle about it as I was reading. Like, anytime they met someone, so there's humans, there's witches, there's demons, and there's vampires. And so essentially, we're all living amongst one another, but the creatures, the demons, witches, and vampires, are hiding their existence from the humans, okay? Because humans get a little bit freaked out about things. So, and every time a human is brought into the story, not every time, but there's been a couple of incidents where a human has been brought into the story, the first thing they say after they go, there's demons, vampires, and witches, and werewolves? No, there's no werewolves. He gets quite shirty about it. It's quite funny. And so I have a bit of a giggle about it. And So I don't know whether Deborah's actually got something against the werewolf stories or whatever. I must admit, I'm not a huge fan. And all and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, that was a sort of little funny snippets. As I said, she's very much, I believe she actually used to be a history teacher, maybe? I don't know. I think that was in the first one. Because they don't write about the authors or anything anymore. You just don't know. Oh, here you go. There is actually something. So Deborah Harkness is a historian of science and a professor of history at the University of Southern California. She is the recipient of fellowships from the American Council of Learned Societies, the Guggenheim Foundation, I think I pronounced that right, and I'm sorry if I didn't, Foundation, the National Humanities Center. Harkness has also been awarded the History of Science Society's Pfizer Award and the Derrick Prize Award, and the North American Conference of British Studies Jen Ben Snow Prize. Now, I have no idea what any of these prizes are or anything like that, but that's a lot of credentials right there. She has spent several years in Oxford doing research and really did once find a missing manuscript in the Bodleian Library. Now, the story is the Book of Life is a missing manuscript and all the creatures are looking for it. Okay, mostly, and Matthew has spent a considerable amount of his 1500 years of life looking for it. And so she actually comes across it in the first book, and that's what starts it all. Okay, so once, and it says in brackets, doing research and really did once find a missing manuscript in the Bodleian Library, which is a very tricky word to get around. She has written The Jewel House, The Elizabethan London, and The Scientific Revolution, and this is her third novel following the first two books of All Souls trilogy. Highly acclaimed international bestseller, A Discovery of Witches and Shadow of Night. Follow Deborah on Twitter at Deb Harkness, and visit her website of the deborahharkness.com, and also her Facebook, author Deborah Harkness. And it gets a lot of rave reviews too from things like the Sunday Mirror, the Audible blog, Curious Book Fans, and so forth and so on. So yeah, it actually has quite and that's just inside the cover. So she's got a few awards. She does a lot of research for her books and all the rest of it, and it does come through in her writing. Like, you do get very much a sense that this woman knows what she's talking about and has done her research and stuff like that. So if you have yet to read it, I can honestly say, if you like a little bit of creatures, like mythical creatures in it, you like a little bit of romance, but not too heavy on the romance. There's a couple of scenes that are a bit heavy. And you like a little bit of an adventure and, yeah, intrigue and how it's all going to pan out, I think you will thoroughly enjoy that trilogy, the All Souls trilogy. And I believe there's like supplemental books and stuff that go with it that explain all the stuff that she mentions. And from what I've heard, I haven't actually seen it. A couple of times I've been into the bookshops, they haven't had it, but apparently it is available. I'm not 100% sure what it's called. And there's another book that she's written as well that, as I said, focuses, from what I've read online, it focuses on Matthew and Marcus, which are two characters in this trilogy. Matthew being the main male character, and Marcus is his son, and he is close to the main. He's very he's up there. He appears in the book quite a bit and all the rest of it. But thoroughly loved it. I gave it 4 stars, but sitting here talking about it and thinking over the book again and all the rest of it, I think I'm going to up it. I think I'm going to up it the whole series to a 5-star series. I'm pretty happy with it. But that's all I've read this week. As I said, that was quite a chunky book. I've had a lot on. I've been in the car a lot, and so I can't have my device on because I'm teaching to drive and stuff like that. But I have had a good run at some books that I've got like sitting on my bedside table that I'm going to get to, and not necessarily finished by the end of this month because I've got a retreat coming up at the end of the week, so that's going to make it a little bit tricky to get reading done while I'm up there. So that'll be 4 days where I'll only get a little bit of reading done each night, and in the morning I'll probably sit there and have a cuppa, go and sit out on the and spend an hour reading to start my day off, but then again I get up pretty early, so well, I try to anyway, especially at retreat, because I get up and do the breakfasts and all that sort of stuff. But I'm going to leave it there for now. As I said, they're the only books that I've read this week. Still, you know, a pretty good book, and a not so good. It was romantic, that red cream one. It had a little bit of romance in it, but it was more just like toing and froing, and it just wasn't my thing. But I am going to read the third one because I've gone and had a look at the reviews of the third one, and there was a lot of people that thought the same thing of the second one. But the third one seems to have a little bit more oomph to it. So I'm going to give it a read. If I get halfway through and I'm not enjoying it, I'm just going to can the series altogether. But, you know, as I said, with the All Souls trilogy, the second book was not as great as the first and the third book, but it was still good. So maybe that might be the case with this one. You know, sometimes authors have a bad day too and don't get it all right. But that's it from me today. Thank you so much for joining me. We've got a little bit done on, you know, with all my talking and all the rest of it. Sorry that I didn't have my notes today, but they've gone for a little bit of a journey in the car, and Brendan's got it. So yeah, I'm going to have to go back and have a look at the PDF and see if they're backstitched there, because I don't want to miss them out. But yeah, we're going to head back down towards this. This will start to get covered up by these stitches here. I'll probably work a little bit more on this tonight when I'm sitting there watching TV, and get a little bit more done ready for next week. I'm probably going to actually work on this again over the weekend as well. I'm going to take it with me to the retreat. I'm taking my big stand with me, so that'll be good too. I'm also taking my table one as well, so I can sit at the table and do some stitching on my smaller projects and whatnot. But yeah, all right, that's it from me today. Have a great day, everybody, and a great week. And if you only join me on a Monday, I will see you, hopefully, fingers crossed, next Tuesday. I don't think I'll be doing it on Monday. I will probably definitely do it on Tuesday, because I check out on the Monday and I get home. If I've got time, I will do it and I'll get it up on the Monday, but you could probably expect to see it next Tuesday. I will put a notice in our Facebook group if you follow along with that. If not, you'll find it underneath this video down in the description. And as always, you will find my kit list there of all the books that I have read. I will actually put the All Souls trilogy in there. These are for physical books, and you can also click on them to go to the audio and stuff like that, because it's all through Amazon, and so that way you'll be able to get them. All right, well, have a great week, everybody. Get lots of stitching in, and I'll see you all again next time for the BookTube Stitch with me. Bye for now.